You're listening to English with Monty, the podcast about the English language. Today is 8-Minute English, talking about quantifiers. Hello there and welcome to English with Monty. We're doing an 8-Minute English episode with Gideon. We're going to do some quantifiers, Gideon.
How many?
I like that. Some quantifiers.
Some.
That's already a quantifier, isn't it?
A few quantifiers would be enough.
What's the difference between a few and a little? Let's just dive straight in there. What's the difference?
A few is for countables, isn't it?
Yes.
I've got a few ideas. 1 idea, 2 idea, 3 ideas. A few books, a few beers. I've drunk a few beers today. 1 beer, 2 beer, 3 beers.
We've already drunk a few beers. It's only 12 o'clock.
Well, no, it's just an example.
Okay.
A little sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I have little space in my apartment for an elephant.
That's true.
Thank you for the offer.
You're trying to say I'm the size of an elephant or that I'm giving you a pet elephant?
So uncountable things, a little, isn't it? Yeah, little sugar, that's good.
This is important though, isn't it? I was doing this with a student the other day, and obviously you could count a cup of sugar because there's a container.
Yeah, or cube. Can be, you're right. You're absolutely right. Can be countable or uncountable on it. Because you say can have 2 sugars in my tea.
Mm-hmm. That means lumps of sugar, doesn't it? Or it means teaspoons of sugar.
I'm a bit nostalgic for lumps of sugar because I never see lumps of sugar anymore. Do you see them? It gives you little packet sachets of sugar.
That's very true.
Really?
I mean,
when do you see lumps of sugar?
That does happen. If you go to some places, they do have lumps of sugar.
Well, which place, John? Where is it? Give me the name and address.
In your fancy coffee places that you go to, you normally have them.
No. Anyway, I don't take sugar.
Not fancy enough. Well, let's move on. So
we've only got 8 minutes. So we've only got 7 minutes talking about sugar lumps.
Exactly. Ridiculous. A lot of and lots of. Is there any difference?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think so. Maybe you can correct me, John. Maybe you have the answer. I think I've got lots of time. I got a lot of time. I got lots of cash. There's a lot of noise. I think it's the same, isn't it?
It's the same. Yeah. You can use them interchangeably between uncountable and countable ones. I suppose maybe lots of seems a bit more emphasis, doesn't it, than a lot of?
Possibly.
Or it just feels a bit more like you're counting a number of things, whereas a lot of seems like one whole voluminous thing. So we've done that. That's an easy one. Many or much?
Yeah, many is countable and
So
much is uncountable.
So this is the same idea as few and little. Have many beers, because your example was about beer, or much sugar. Again, it's uncountable. What I find is quite a lot of students would make this mistake where you would say too much expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is that wrong?
Because if you have 2, you don't put much after 2, T-O-O, do you? Yes, you do. Too much time.
You do if you've got a noun, right?
Yeah.
If you have an adjective, then you don't need much, do you? Because much is about quantity. So therefore you remove it because there's no noun there. So therefore there's no quantity.
Brilliant. You're brilliant, John.
Thank you.
Can I say that actually I don't know anything, but when I do grammar videos, but of course you do video, you have time to prepare. But John is just like throwing questions at me now, and I think, oh, what's the answer there? I should know if I think about it, but we only got 8 minutes. Spent 7 minutes talking about sugar lumps.
Stop it. Stop it now. Let's talk about enough.
If it goes to 9 minutes, so you can just cut off the last minute.
Shut up. Okay, enough. Let's talk about enough. So how would we use enough?
Enough when there is an adequate amount of something.
Okay, I hear this as a problem where enough is put in the wrong position.
Enough goes before the noun, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't put enough effort into this. We haven't got enough time. And it goes after the adjective, is that right?
Yeah, that's
correct. Not old enough.
You're not old enough to get in the pub.
You're not stupid enough to become an English teacher.
No, good example. Very good example. Any or no, you're kind of using this in the negative way.
Any usually in questions are negative, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Usually there are exceptions, and some is in the affirmative. There are exceptions to that. Probably won't have time to go into that anymore. Have you got any idea, any questions?
Is there any room in the car?
Yeah, so questions are negative. I don't have any answer.
Or you could say I have no answer as well.
You can put no. I think you can't do this in some other language. You can in English. You just put no before the noun. I have no time.
You can do that, can you? Which is nice. And also you
have no coffee. Where's my coffee? I have no coffee. I have no sugar lumps.
Stop talking about sugar. You're sweet enough.
Thank you.
How much money do you have? You could say none.
Yeah, none then you don't need to say the noun. You put no must go before the noun. How much money have you got? I've got none. I've got no money.
That's correct. Or the opposite.
Some?
Yeah,
What's the
or
opposite?
two extremes. So plenty of money, you could
Oh,
say.
plenty. Oh, yes. A great deal of.
A great deal of money, you could say that as well. A large amount of, a large quantity of. So plenty of is more than you need, right? So it's like as much as you need or more than you need. Is that right?
Exactly. We've got plenty of time, all the time that is required. We don't need to rush. The train leaves in 4 hours. We've got plenty of time to see the castle.
That's true. Because also as well, you could use more or less if you're talking about comparative, and most or least if you're talking about superlative.
This is the most fun I've had in a long time.
Wow, that's worrying, isn't it? Because that shows that you don't have a lot of fun.
This is the least interesting book I've read in a long time.
I think that's a good example. One thing we didn't cover is what's the difference between little and a little?
Yes. A little has more one meaning, though. Be careful though. He's very little.
That's true.
I'm sure that's what you mean.
But in terms of quantity,
little can mean not enough. It can mean, can't it? We have little time.
So it's not enough of something, isn't it?
But a little means a small amount, but it's okay. I have a little present for you.
That's an important difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it means there's not a lot of something, but there is enough. And that would be the same with few as well, wouldn't it? Again, there are few people at my party, which means there's not enough. Whereas I could say there are a few people at my party, which means I'm very happy with that. And I didn't expect anybody to come.
Exactly. Quite happy that a few people came.
Okay.
A few people came to my party. Isn't that sad? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just by the addition of changed it totally.
Does, doesn't it? I think that's an important one.
Changes it a great deal.
A great deal, yes. That's a good phrase, because a great deal is just something that can substitute meaning a large amount or a
lot. Yeah.
And then contrast to that, you could say a bit as well, which obviously you could say a little or a few, but you could also say a bit, which could go with uncountable and countable.
You say a little bit, you say a bit, you can say a little, you can say a little bit. They all work, don't they?
Yeah. And then countable nouns, several or a majority of or a number of are a few that we've not mentioned. So they can all be used as well.
Yeah, you have to be careful. I hear native speakers even mix up number and amount. I hear people saying a large amount of people. Not quite right. It should be a large number of people. 2 people, 3 people.
That's very true.
Uncountable use amount, a large amount of money.
Thanks for that. I think that's a good clarification because you're right. A lot of native speakers do make a mistake with that. I hope that was good for you listeners. And you've been listening to 8 Minute English with Monty, and see you soon.